Okay, let's get cozy. Hello, what's up, and welcome back to my channel, Roam with Rach. My name is Rachel. I make videos on fashion, travel, and environmentalism. So if you like any of those things, subscribe to me. All right, so in today's video, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm actually gonna be talking about some story times, sharing with you some like crazy travel stories. Dare I say, like my worst travel moments. It's gonna be like a chit-chatty sit-down video with you guys. I feel like when you do travel content, it's all about posting like the nice stuff and making it beautiful and making it aesthetic and being like, I'm so free, I'm so young, I'm having so much fun. But sometimes travel doesn't go as expected, and if you are someone who likes to travel a lot, you know that travel is not always super glamorous. It's not always super fun and amazing, and sometimes mistakes are made. Sometimes it's my fault, okay, I'll admit, but sometimes it's just like the people you run into, a crazy experience, something happens. It's just what happens when you travel, you know?
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Not Siri listening to me. All right, the year is 2023. I'm backpacking Southeast Asia. I've finished Thailand and now I've made my way to Laos. Laos, if you've been there before, you know it's a little bit more rugged, a little bit more real in comparison to Thailand. And so I was having very rugged and real experiences. So I come to Vieng Vieng, which is like a big place to go backpacking in Laos, and I check into my hostel. My hostel was like not the cleanest, not the best, but I was like, whatever, we're in Laos, we're having a fun moment, you know, we're gonna make the most of it. Sometimes during my trip, I'll book like all female dorms, and then sometimes during my trip, if it's a hostel that's 6 or more, I'll just do a mixed bed dorm. It honestly just depends on how I'm feeling. Like, if I'm feeling like I just need some feminine energy, I will book a female only dorm. But then if I'm feeling like I'm fine, it's whatever, I'll book a mixed dorm. On this fated day, I booked a mixed dorm, okay? So I'm expecting, you know, a mix of genders. I go to check in my room and I find out that it is me and 5 guys from the UK. They're like all in their early 20s, they're partying, they're ready to go. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel like this is a safe place to share. I have had some like bad experiences with men from the UK, and I'm not saying anything rude about people from the UK. I'm just, some men from the UK just aren't my cup of tea, no pun intended. I'm thinking, oh no, here we go. I am not gonna have fun. Like, I'm gonna hate these guys. They're gonna be awful, they're gonna be annoying, they're gonna be pretentious, they're gonna be all the things. I'm like filtering out my brain. I, as a traveler, decide to give the benefit of the doubt, and I'm like, you know what, Rachel, go in with positive vibes, meet them, see how it is, scope it out. So I meet them, and they actually were very nice, to my surprise. They were all like super nice guys. They did love to party and go out, but that is typical in the backpacker scene. So, I mean, there was a separate story. Should I share this? I feel like most of these guys still follow me on Instagram, so I don't know if they're gonna see this. One of them one night was so intoxicated that he asked me to wake him up at a certain time. He was like, oh, I want to go out, you know, Rachel, the love of my life is gonna be out tonight. I don't know, probably just some girl that he met. And he was like, I need to go out, but like I'm so tired. And this kid was probably like, he was probably like 20 years old, and he had just been partying nonstop for days, and I could tell he was just exhausted and not going to wake up. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go shower right now. I'll probably be back in like 20-ish minutes. Do you want me to wake you up then? Like, just lie down, have a rest, I'll wake you up when I come back. He goes, oh my gosh, yes, thank you, Rachel, thank you. Whatever, I go to shower, I come back in 20 minutes, and then I try to wake him up. First off, I try to like, you know, gently wake him up. I'm not trying to scare him or anything. So I like gently rock him a little bit, nothing. I like rock him like a little harder, I'm like calling his name, nothing. And then I like try to fully like shake him. First of all, I knew he was breathing and he was alive, or else that would have been a whole different story. He was breathing, he just was so dead tired and probably intoxicated as well that he was just not waking up. Like, his little body was like, I need to rest. We tried everything. Like, I think at one point this girl that I met in the hallway that I asked to help me out brought in like a pot and a pan, and we were like banging a pot and a pan, literally screaming at this kid to wake up because I'm feeling stressed out. He was like, the love of my life is going out. I knew he would be upset with me if I didn't wake him up, and so we were just trying so hard to wake this kid up. Did not work. Anyway, the next morning he was like, Rachel, why didn't you wake me up? And I explained to him that I tried so hard to wake him up. Anyway, that was just the pre-story, okay? To give you kind of an idea of who these guys are. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, because when I go travel, I kind of post very unfiltered on my Instagram stories, and I feel like I posted a very like unfiltered moment when we all went tipsy tubing. So I get back to my hostel one night and I'm super tired. I'm not feeling like I want to go out and party that night. I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed. So all the other guys, of course, they're out there going to party like they did every night, totally fine. Every morning they would like come back home and like try not to wake me up, but they were so loud because they were intoxicated. They were like, sorry Rachel, sorry, like whispering. It was actually very funny. I didn't mind because it would wake me up for like a second and then I'd go back to bed. On this particular night, they all came back in and they were like shook to their core. Like they just had a crazy experience and they were like, sorry Rachel, something crazy just happened. It's crazy, it's crazy. I was like, what happened? Like, I'm awake at this point. I want the tea, I want to know what's going on. He's like, no, it was so bad, Rachel. We can't tell you, you're gonna judge us. It's so bad, it was so crazy. We just had a crazy night. And I'm like, okay, tell me. And then after a while, they finally told me that they did, I don't know if this is gonna get taken off YouTube. They told me that they did some sort of substance that starts with the letter H with men in Laos. I couldn't believe it. That's why when they came back, they were not just intoxicated, they were on another level. That was pretty crazy. They did live to tell the tale. Would not recommend going with random men that you've just met in Laos to go do substances, especially substances that start with an H. That was just a crazy hostel moment. I just couldn't believe it happened, and it was very funny at the time. Thankfully, all of them were okay. Nothing bad happened to them. They just had a couple of crazy days in Laos, and I got to witness it, but without doing any of that. The moral of this first story is, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. You might get along with, you know, 5 early 20s men. They might not all be super annoying, and they weren't. They were very lovely. They were nice men. So if you are watching this, it was nice meeting you, okay? You guys made for a great story, so thank you. For my next story, you need to think about someone who you are like a super fan of, okay? For me, it is Taylor Swift. And before you start rolling your eyes if you're not a Taylor Swift girly, just think if your favorite artist that you have been listening to since you were a child up until adulthood, they were still putting out records, and they decided to throw a concert of all of their eras and play songs from all of their albums, and there was a room of over 60,000 people. I think it's 60,000, don't quote me on that, but there was a room full of people who felt the exact same way as you, and you just got to dance and sing all night all your favorite songs. If you don't have something like that, like, just try to picture it. The point being is that I love Taylor Swift. I've been a huge fan of her since I was younger, and this year I actually went to Sweden to go see her concert. And the reason I'm telling you this is not to brag that I got to go see my favorite artist ever in Sweden. It's to tell you about a story where things took a turn for the worse, okay? When I traveled to Sweden this year, I did Sweden and then I did Denmark, and I just took a train to like Stockholm to Copenhagen. And on that trip, because I knew I was going to be traveling on a lot of paved roads, I decided instead of taking my backpack, I was just going to take a little suitcase. So I had my little suitcase, I had like a normal size backpack, and my normal size backpack, that was my personal item, and my suitcase was my carry-on. When I got my merch box with my ticket, it was like a whole box of stuff that I had to pick up in Sweden. And it didn't really fit in my luggage, so I kind of had to carry it and then hope for the best when I was flying home that like I could bring it home with me. Concert's over, it's the day after, I've already finished my time in Stockholm, and I'm going to the train station. So usually I like to leave myself enough time, but that particular morning I was just running a little bit behind. So I get myself to the train station, I've already booked my train ticket, so I'm just trying to figure out where to go and what platform I'm on, because it's a pretty big station, and I'm reading all the signs and I'm walking all these places, trying to get there. I had to walk from my hostel. So it's like me, my luggage, my Taylor Swift merch box, and my backpack. And I'm, you know, doing a brisk walk to get to where I need to be. And so I'm checking my platform, I'm getting there. I realized, oh, I didn't refill my water bottle. And because I was in Sweden, the water from the sink is all fresh water and it's all very clean and safe to drink. So I brought a reusable water bottle. So I'm like, okay, I need to find somewhere I can refill my water, or else I'm gonna be so thirsty on this train. I run, I find someone I can ask. They tell me to go to the bathroom and then I can refill it in the sinks there. So I run to the bathroom, I put my merch box down, I take my backpack off, I get my water bottle out, unscrew it, I'm filling up my water, I'm like rushing, I'm putting my lid back on my water, throwing in my bag, throw my bag on, grab my luggage, run, and I just make it to my train. Like when I say just, I mean I just made it onto this train, because trains in Europe, they're very on time. You need to be there. You need to be there, and you need to be ready to go. And if you're there like 30 seconds late, see ya. It's almost like to the exact minute that they take off. So I get in the train, I'm like, whew, I'm feeling good. I'm like relaxing a little bit. I'm watching some shows. I think at the time I was watching Bridgerton. Would you watch Bridgerton on the train? Because I did. I feel no shame. I'm watching Bridgerton. I'm having a good time. And then it dawns on me that I don't have my merch box with me. And I'm like, wait a minute. I have my backpack, because I have my backpack with me. I left my luggage at like a certain part of the train where you like store your luggage. I was like, I don't think I have my merch box at all. And it dawns on me like halfway from Stockholm to Copenhagen, and I don't have my merch box. And so I get up and I go to the luggage area. I'm like, maybe I just put it there when I was in a rush. And so I run over there. It's not there. So at this point I'm freaking out. And because I am such a major fan of this artist, I am like racking my brain. I'm thinking, do I need to turn around, go back, get a new train ticket? That might be really hard. That might be really expensive. There might not be another train coming that day. I don't really know. I'm trying to contact people at the train station. I'm trying to contact people like in Copenhagen. I'm calling all the different numbers, like train security. I'm calling like the head of the train station central people. I like must have called 3 or 4 people, and no one could help me. Or like, I was like, if you just put me on the phone, because in the bathroom there was an attendant in the bathroom, and he helped me like know where to fill up my water and stuff. So I'm like, if you could just put that lovely bathroom attendant on the phone with me, that we're good, we're golden, okay? please. And there was also like language barriers, because not all of them spoke like English or were understanding what I was saying, and it was just a struggle. And so I'm sitting there and I'm racking my brain, and I'm like, Rachel, how did you do this? I'm so upset, I'm so gutted. I know that Stockholm is filled with Swifties, so I'm thinking like, if by the odd chance it is there, like put me in touch with someone so I can get it. But someone might have also snagged it for themselves, because like I said, everyone in Stockholm at that time was a Taylor Swift fan, because that was the weekend that she played Stockholm. I was so upset, and I decided, after like going back and forth with the pros and cons, I decided that I was not going to take a train back to Stockholm. I was like, Rachel, this would be a waste of money, and you know, then you're losing a day in Copenhagen, you don't have a lot of time. And I was kind of like kicking myself. I'm like, Rachel, you need to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more on the ball. You know, it was my fault that I left it at the train station, so I was kind of being a little down on myself, but I was trying to do it in a positive way. Like, Rachel, you know, you made a mistake. For the rest of this trip, make sure you're really focused. Make sure you're not forgetting things. Be present. Slow down when you need to. Remember all your stuff, okay? And when I was like playing this in my head and coaching myself and trying to calm myself down and making that decision, I'm not gonna turn around, that's when my friend texted me, who was still in Stockholm. And I had paid for a taxi that we all took the night before, and so she was just going to like e-transfer me some money for that. And when she sent me that message, I had like a light bulb went off in my head, because I knew that she was leaving Stockholm that day, but she was flying home. She was from the States. This might be a big ask, but I was thinking, why don't I ask her if she has left Stockholm yet? And so I texted her back, and she said, oh my gosh, I'm at the train station right now. And I was freaking out that moment. I was like typing, like my thumbs could not keep up with the amount of words I wanted to send to her. I was like, please, if you're able to, I would really appreciate it if you could go check the bathroom, my merch box, I left it there. If you're able to, I would love that so much. Like, thank you. And she replies back and she says, no problem. And she texts me back about 5 minutes later, a picture of my merch box. It is still fully intact. Nothing happened to it. I was so happy and so grateful that she took the time to not only do that, but then she took my merch package home with her, and she then shipped it to me. I sent her some money so that she could mail it to me, but I was just so grateful that she took the time to do that, but then also went through all the trouble of bringing it home. And after all that happened, I'm happy to say that my merch box was perfectly intact and it made its way to me, and I was so freaking happy that I got it. Like, anyway, I know not everyone understands the Taylor Swift hype, but like, again, just imagine your favorite artist ever, and I was just so happy. So moral of that story, I guess, is to just be nice to everyone that you come in contact with, just from the bottom of your heart, for being a good person, but also because you never know when you might need a friend's help, so always go out of your way and try to be nice and help other people. All right, the next story, this one's probably the story that like shook me up the most, but I feel compelled to share because I'm already gonna tell you that the moral of this story is always to trust your gut when you are traveling. Like, make sure that you are just like listening to your body's cues, because sometimes your body will like dead set give away like this is not a good person or something feels wrong, and it's always better to be safe than sorry, okay? So this story took place earlier this year when I was backpacking Central America. I was in Costa Rica at the time. So essentially I flew into Costa Rica, and then I was staying one night in San Jose, and then I took a bus to the Guanacaste area because that's where I was meeting all my friends for a yoga retreat that I was doing. So I landed in San Jose, at the San Jose airport in Costa Rica. Usually when I land in an airport, my kind of checklist in my head is like, get a SIM card, you know, get your bearings, figure out how much is a good price to like take a taxi to where you need to be. Sometimes if I see someone else who's solo traveling, I might connect with them and be like, do you want to take a taxi together? And that is what I did, okay? So I got off the plane, I met this girl. I actually met this girl before I got onto, oh, that's a whole other story. Guys, I can make a part 2 of this video, so if you enjoy this video, I have so many stories and I just keep thinking about more as I'm telling them. The point being is that I met this girl before I got on this plane, and she was also from Canada. She was super nice, and I was like, let's take a taxi to where we need to be afterwards, because we figured out that our hostels weren't too far away from each other. So we're like, amazing. So I get off the plane, I meet this girl, and I'm looking as we're walking through the airport for a place to buy a SIM card, and I just couldn't find a place to buy a SIM card in this airport for some reason. And that was super weird because usually I just get a SIM card at the airport, no problem. But I wasn't too concerned about it because, again, I knew that I was meeting up with a bunch of my friends, and that's something I don't typically do when I'm traveling. So I knew that I was going to be in the comfort and the safety of all my friends in a day. So I was like, you know what, it's fine. Once I meet up with all my friends, maybe we can all take a walk and go to a corner store and I can get a SIM card then before I leave them all and continue traveling by myself. So I didn't think too much of it. Me and this girl took an Uber. We got to our respective hostels that we need to be at. I slept overnight at that hostel. The next day I go and take a bus. I wake up that morning and the bus company basically sent me an email being like, we can't drop you off at the yoga retreat. We're gonna drop you off somewhere, like the farthest we can take you is this restaurant that's like a 20-minute drive away from the yoga retreat. And so I was like, no big deal, that's cool. Like, I'll just stop at this restaurant. I'll get some Wi-Fi at this restaurant because almost everywhere has Wi-Fi, and then I will just contact like someone, an Uber, whatever, to go and take me that next 20 minutes to get to my yoga retreat, right? I get on the bus, they drop me off at this restaurant, everything's good. When I'm walking into the restaurant, immediately this man clocks me, and it's like this man, and he's sitting with these other two men, and they were probably like middle-aged, and so he immediately comes up to me and he's speaking English to me, which, you know, most people in Costa Rica speak Spanish, and so I try to speak Spanish as best as I can. He came up to me immediately and started speaking English to me. He was definitely from Costa Rica, but he was speaking English to me, I think, in a strategic way to kind of like, you know, get me to like him or get me on his side or get me to talk to him. And so right off the bat, he was like, oh, how are you doing? Whatever, asking me questions about myself. I don't even remember everything, but I do remember having this like gut feeling that like this guy could be bad news. At first, the way he was sitting in the restaurant made me think that he was like the owner of the restaurant, because in a lot of countries, like the owners of the restaurant will just like sit there and, I don't know, do paperwork or managerial stuff in the restaurant. So I almost thought he was the owner at first. And he was like, oh, where do you need to be? And I'm just kind of explaining, oh, I'm meeting my friends for a yoga retreat. Pro tip, if you are traveling alone and not meeting your friends, always say you're meeting your friends. But this time, I actually was meeting my friends. Like, I was actually going to meet my friends at the yoga retreat and I needed to get to them. And so I was like, oh, is there Wi-Fi at this restaurant? He was like, no, like the Wi-Fi is not working. Let me get you a drink. You want a drink? And I said, no, I'm fine. He's like, oh, get her a beer or whatever. And he starts like telling the lady behind the counter to get me a beer. I looked at the lady, I said, no, I'm totally fine. But I bought a water off of her. I said, I'll have a water. He was like, oh, I'll pay for it for you. No problem, no problem. And he suddenly, don't worry, I'll pay for it. Like, I'll pay for it. I didn't want to owe this man anything, so right off the bat, so I still gave the lady money. And I said, no, it's totally fine. I'm trying to be nice and respectful to this man because I don't want to cause any issues. But I also was feeling very like, a little bit uneasy and ambivalent. And so I gave this lady the money and I said, here you go. Like, if he does decide to pay, just keep it as a tip. Like, it's fine because I'm not gonna use this restaurant's Wi-Fi without paying for something from the restaurant. So I bought a bottle of water. Then I asked her about the Wi-Fi. She said the Wi-Fi was down. That was super unfortunate. And so then I was like, okay, I need to walk maybe down this road. There wasn't a lot of shops or restaurants on this specific road, but I was like, I need to walk down this road and find somewhere that has Wi-Fi. But I was like, I don't want to walk with my full bags in case this man decides to follow me and like something happens. Like, I'm at a disadvantage if I have all of this like heavy backpacks on me. So I noticed there was a group of people sitting at a table in this restaurant, and they, listening from their accents, were definitely from the UK. And so I was like, okay, these are all tourists as well. Maybe I can go and get a feel for how these people are, maybe leave my bag with them. So I went up to them, was chatting with them for a while. They seemed super nice, super chill. There was this big group. I learned that they were there doing research. So I was like, okay, cool. They seemed really nice. I said, do you guys mind if I just leave my bag with you for like 2 minutes? I'm just gonna run down the street. I'm just trying to find Wi-Fi so I can get in touch with my friends. I didn't want to feel like a mooch or weird, like imposing on these people right off the bat, being like, can I use your phone? Can I use your Wi-Fi? So instead I just said, hey, like, can I leave my bags here? I'm just gonna walk down the road and try to find Wi-Fi. And this man was watching this whole interaction and he was like, oh, I'll help you. Like, I could take you on my bike. And I said, oh no, that's okay because I have all these bags. He was like following me, and then he followed me down the road. And that's when it kind of got a little freaky because I was like, why is this man following me when I'm just trying to find Wi-Fi? Like, why don't you just go sit with your other friends at the restaurant, whatever. Then he's telling me like, oh, I can get you a taxi. Like, you know, taxis don't really come up here, but like one of my friends can come pick you up. I can call someone if you want. I can call someone. They're in Tamarindo. I can call someone. I'm a really trustworthy person. I speak English. Like, he kept repeating that, saying he was really trustworthy and that he spoke English. And that to me was as well a red flag, and kind of weird that he was being so pushy about it. So I walked down the road. I realized that there's gonna be nowhere that I can really find Wi-Fi. And I'm starting to get a little bit freaked out because this man is following me still. So I stopped at the side of the road and there was this family, the mom and the kid was in the car, and then the dad was ordering food. And I went up to the gentleman and I said, excuse me, sir. Again, he looked like a tourist. Not saying Costa Rican people are dangerous or anything like that. It just, he looked like a tourist, so I assumed he would have some sort of like phone plan that he could call someone to help me out, and that there wouldn't be a language barrier because my Spanish is not that good. So I went up to this man, and I was like, hey sir, do you mind hotspotting me? Because at that point I was like, I need to contact my friends. This man is weirding me out more and more. By the second I could feel it in my gut, he was giving me icky vibes. So I asked him. He said, oh, go to my wife, she's just in the car and she'll help you out. So I went up to the wife. They were German. I could definitely hear from their accent. Super nice people. She ended up hotspotting me. I ended up messaging my friends who were at the yoga retreat, hey, can you come pick me up? They were like, yes, no problem. I told them that I was feeling freaked out. Again, always let people know like where your location is. I dropped a pin and I said, this man is following me, like he's freaking me out. So that my friends knew that like I was not feeling safe. I was not feeling comfortable in that moment. And I thank this woman so much. Something you may not know just watching my videos is that I'm an extremely emotional person, and this man was really starting to freak me out at that point. So I think like I was talking to this woman and I was just kind of like, she was like, oh, like, do you know this man, kind of thing? And I was like, no, I don't know this man. And I was trying to like show her the message on my phone being like, this man is freaking me out, so that this woman, I am silently letting her know that this man's freaking me out as well, so it doesn't put me at a greater risk of danger. I think my eyes were like tearing up because I was just getting so freaked out at this point. The woman again was super nice, hotspotted me, Everything was good. Messaged my friends. My friend said, okay, stay put. We're gonna send someone to come get you. This man, he's our driver. He's super safe. This is his name. I said, amazing, good. So I walk back. Again, this man is still saying, I can get you a taxi. I can do this. Like, I can call my friend. They can drive you. And I said, no, it's fine. They're already sending someone to come get me. And he was like, oh, do you not trust me? Like, I'm very trustworthy, whatever. So much that he like gave me his number, and he was like, if you need anything, like, you just call me. And he still wouldn't leave me alone. I decided when I went back to that restaurant, instead of sitting with that man, of course, like, I ended up sitting with the people who I left my bags with, who were researchers from the UK. He even asked me, he's like, oh, why don't you sit with us? And I was like, oh, I'm just more comfortable here. I'm just drinking my water, whatever. So yes, a lot of red flags. Then when someone came to pick me up, it was a woman. And so that kind of set off a bit of alarm bells in my head, because I was like, they told me that it was going to be a man who was coming to pick me up. So I was like, I'm kind of freaked out. I'm a little ambivalent towards this. I'm thinking in my head like 20 billion things that could go wrong. I'm thinking this woman is in cahoots with this man who's scaring me, and they're just pretending to be the ones who are picking me up when they're not the ones who are picking me up. And this woman only spoke Spanish, so I was trying to speak to her in my very broken Spanish. I get in her car, that really weird man comes over, he carries my bags for me. I'm like, no, it's fine. And then he like grabs them off me. And so I was like, okay, and I'm trying to be nice. I'm like, you know, when you're traveling, I don't have a lot of expensive stuff on me anyway. So I'm like, go ahead, go steal my freaking jean shorts and flip-flops that are in my backpack, whatever. But he didn't steal anything. He did like put it in the car. He was just being like overly nice. He was like reminding me that I gave you my number, if you need me, message me, whatever. And he was like talking to that woman in Spanish, like very friendly. So again, my brain is just like, oh my gosh, is he like in cahoots with her? Am I gonna have to tuck and roll out of this car? I don't know what to do. But this woman did say that, you know, she was here to pick me up. And then I wasn't thinking, because I was so excited that like my ride was here. I was like, are you from like the Peace Retreat, which was the yoga place that I did my retreat at? And she was like, yes, but like I should have asked her to tell me the name of the retreat. Anyway, so I get in the car with this woman. I am like kind of freaking out, and I'm like starting to cry a little bit. Not because this woman did anything weird, but just because I was like freaked out from that man, and I was away from that man, so I was kind of like decompressing a little bit. And this woman mentioned something about her house. I realized later she was just trying to tell me that she needed to go get her wallet from her house, but in the moment she's like, oh, I like something like mi casa, and then she was saying like her daughter, and I was really confused. So she was talking about like her daughter, and she's talking about her house. I was trying to piece together my Spanish words, and she was like, oh, like, you know, trying to tell me something and like trying to point. I was like, okay. And so we turned onto this residential road, and I'm like, oh my god, I might die today. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna escape. Like if these people kidnap me, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm like freaking out a little bit. This little girl on a bike just rides up, hands this woman her wallet, and then she takes it, and then that's it. And then we were back on the road. So I was like, huh, okay. So she was basically just telling me I need to stop at my house and go get my wallet. So I was like, oh, okay. We're good, we're chatting, we're having like some friendly conversation in my broken Spanish again, trying to like get my mind off things. She did end up driving me to the Peace Retreat, and I found out later that the driver that was supposed to come pick me up was actually picking up everyone else from the airport, because they had just flown in to meet us all. So because they didn't have anyone else who could come get me, they asked his wife if she would come and pick me up, and she did, and she was so nice for doing that. But again, they just couldn't let me know that the wife was coming instead of the man. So that's why I was expecting a man. Anyway, I got just the most icky vibes from that man. And I had a good cry when I got to my yoga retreat, just because I was so like scared and freaked out. Always trust your gut. Yes, that man was really nice, and yes, his English was very good, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was a trustworthy person. And he didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Like, he was overly pushy, which is definitely a red flag, but I just felt something in my gut was not right with that man. So always just be careful. Like, saving some money on a taxi by meeting a local, like, sometimes isn't always worth it, because you don't really know people's intentions, and especially if you have a bad gut feeling, don't do it. I feel like these stories have been very long. I'm gonna do one more. It's gonna be a short story. This is about a time in Thailand where I lost my friends at a rave. Not ideal. So I'm in Koh Phangan. I'm there for the full moon party. There's a lot of parties and events leading up to the full moon, of course, because that's when people are flooded into the island. So I met this girl, and Well, I met these two girls and they were really good friends with each other, and so I decided to go to this party, this rave. It was like a jungle rave with them. We went there together. We took a tuk-tuk, like Uber together. We got there, we were having a good time, and then there was one point in time where we got separated. I don't even remember the details, not because I was overly intoxicated by any means, but just the memory is a little bit foggy, but for some reason we got split up. And there was like easily 2,000 people at this rave, like in this small area. And if you know anything about Thailand and like party life, you know, much like party life in North America, if you are a woman, you could be at risk for, you know, having certain, you know, substances put in your drink, or like something happened to you if you are alone. So it's not really safe for you to be alone. It's better if you're with some friends. These girls, I just honestly just lost them, and so I was kind of freaking out. So I was like, I need to get back to my hostel now because I don't know anyone here. I'm not going to try to make friends with people who are intoxicated. That probably wouldn't be the safest thing for me, but I need to go back. And I know it's not safe to go back home, but it's like the lesser of two evils. I was like, I have to figure this out. So I'm walking out of this space. I'm trying to look on Grab, which is like the Uber in Thailand, for someone to take me back to my hostel, and none of the Grabs were like loading. It was like I was in an area where they didn't allow Grabs, but there was a lot of locals just like there with their bikes offering to give you a ride home for a certain amount. Probably an exuberant amount, but you know, get your bag, sis. They gotta make their money, okay? You know, a bunch of people who are offering to drive me, but I feel more comfortable doing a rideshare service, so I'm trying to look at my rideshare. Again, it's not loading, so I'm kind of freaking out internally, like I don't know what to do. This random guy walked past me. Again, trust your gut. This guy, the vibe, he was chill. He was like, hey, are you trying to like go back to your hostel? Because I'm also trying to go back to my hostel. Like, I'm just not having fun. I want to go back home. And I said, yeah, I am. But they're charging a lot. I don't even remember how many baht they were charging, but like probably too much money. But I was like, I need to go back. And so this one guy's like, why don't we just go together, and then he'll like drop you or drop me, whatever. And so I was like, okay, at least I'll be with like another tourist if, you know, anything happens with this, you know, local who's driving me back. So we decide, the two of us, we link up with this man who had his motorcycle. We get in the back, all three of us on his motorcycle. I think I was on the very back. In the back. I feel like it's probably safer for me to be in the middle. I honestly can't remember what the position of us the three, but again, if you've been to Thailand, you know that like they will fit so many people on one motorcycle. So the three of us, we did just fit on because it was a smaller bike, but like that's something that's normal. And so here I am, like holding on. No, you know what? I was in the back because I remember holding on for dear life on the back because this man is flying through the streets of Koh Phangan. We ended up dropping off that guy first at his hostel. He was like, are you sure you're okay? I was like, yeah, I'm good, like nice to meet you, whatever. It was chill. He went to his hostel, then this guy was like, I'm gonna drop you off to mine. And was it safe for me to probably be alone with this man? Of course, everyone in Thailand that you come across is super nice, and like they don't really do anything like that to tourists, but obviously you got to keep your wits about you. But me alone with this random man driving me home that I'm paying while he's flying through the streets, I have no helmet on and I'm holding on for dear life, or potentially something bad happening to me at that party. You know, I kind of had to weigh my options, and so this was the better choice in the end because this man did get me back to my hostel and everything was safe and nothing happened to me. But just a cautionary tale, like don't go to parties with people unless you know them a bit better. That girl did end up apologizing to me the next day, and we're actually still friends. We're still in touch. She was like, I'm sorry that, you know, we ended up losing touch. Like, I feel really bad. And I just kind of explained to her, you know, like, you guys, that was not safe for me that you guys kind of left and I couldn't find you. You know, we worked it out. The point of the story being is that always make sure that you have a safe way home and some sort of idea. And again, just keep your wits about you and check on people. Don't try to keep going. Yes, I could have kept going and like enjoyed the party, one might say, a little bit more if I stayed longer, but also something could have happened to me. So I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you think it was smart what I did. I think it was, because I'm here and I'm living to tell the tale. Anyway, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. My little chit-chatty story time on some of my craziest travel experiences today. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments if you want to see a part 2, because as I was telling these stories, I thought of so many other stories that I could tell. I've just had a lot of crazy travel experiences. Anyway, that's all for this video, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.
I got so much back, I think I'm never running out, yeah. Bust me down a whip, bitch, I don't do this for no clout, hey. I got so much back, I think I'm never running out, yeah. Bust me down a whip.